So Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts is set to meet this week to deliberate on a response to President Ramaphosa's answers around that controversial leaked audio recording. Just last week, SCOPA ordered Ramaphosa to respond in writing to questions relating to that clip, where it's understood the president could be heard admitting to knowledge of the use of public funds for political activities. SCOPA Chair Mkhuleka has confirmed receipt of the president's response. So if Ramaphosa is found wanting, what kind of punitive steps can the committee actually take against him? Let's make sense of this for you now. Bring in Dr. Oscar van der Heerden, who's a political analyst and Deputy Vice-Chancellor at Fort Hare University. Doc, it's always great having you on the program. Thanks for making time. I mean, let's just begin with what we know so far, because I'm sure that will inform what the response should be. I haven't caught sight of what the president actually said in response to SCOPA, but there are people who believe that there's no explaining away what can be heard in that audio clip. Is it that simple for you as well?
Well, absolutely. The thing is, that we all heard the tape. You could talk of context, you can talk of authenticity, you could question the validity, and all of those things that I'm sure legally one could exhaust. But the fact of the matter is, we heard the president. He said a particular statement, and I think that we want to know how he justifies having that knowledge and not sharing it with Parliament.
Yeah. The concern, especially from Newzroom who'd spoken publicly about this, is that SCOPA mustn't be seen to be getting involved in political machinations within the ANC. And I guess that's coming on the back of what we know about the factionalism in the party, where Mervyn Dirk stands in relation to Cyril Ramaphosa. With that in mind, I mean, are we able to carve out what SCOPA should do without defining what their mandate actually is?
Well, this is the thing, I think it's correct that SCOPA should investigate a leaked video footage that was brought to them by a member of Parliament. But the fact of the matter is, SCOPA is supposed to do its work. The fact is that the ANC has had many elective conferences. They've had many provincial, regional, and so forth. And if SCOPA had their finger on the pulse and actually had their eye on the ball in terms of public finances, they should have known that there was some untoward behavior, that money was stolen here or there and was used for party political ends. For them to now suddenly wake up because someone has given them this evidence is a bit unprofessional, because the truth is, where was SCOPA when there was the Nazaré conference, where supposedly these funds were being abused?
As far as you're concerned, we didn't need this audio recording for us to have been aware that funds are being used in nefarious ways.
Well, I mean, as I say, the people are going to question the authenticity. They want to know who leaked it. Yeah. So that was the person actually in the meeting, and so on and so forth. I'm sure there's going to be those kinds of legal machinations to try and exhaust. But I think also importantly, if you analyze the context of the message or the audio clip, we don't know what context it was said in. We don't have the statements or inputs prior to the president's statements or post the president's statement. So, it could very well be that he's being misquoted, that he's being quoted out of context. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, SCOPA gave him 10 days to respond. They forwarded 8 questions to him, which I'm sure was very pointed questions, without ambiguity. And the presidency now tells us they've responded to that. The fact that the chair has decided that they still want to summons the president means that they have questions around some of those responses.
Yeah. This is all taking place, of course, against the backdrop of what we heard at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry around the lapses in Parliament's oversight role. I guess that's kind of putting a whole lot more pressure to how SCOPA ought to respond to this, because it points to that, doesn't it? The fact that we had to wait for this kind of complaint to be laid by Mervyn Dirks, for the conversation to even reach SCOPA before SCOPA can take any action.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you rightfully point out in your introductory remarks, we cannot ignore the fact that there are factional battles and infighting within the ANC, and hence, when it's now convenient, we are being told there's this leaked video about abuse of money and so forth. I think that the context of the statement, when you listen to it, also suggests that the president is trying to protect his party. He's trying to protect the integrity of the ANC. But clearly this is not something that the RET is informed by or are concerned with. And then hence it goes to SCOPA. I think SCOPA must investigate. If there's wrongdoing, the president must be held accountable.
Yeah, so how it actually got to SCOPA's attention is one aspect of the conversation, the motive in other words. But the other aspect is, if this happened, surely there have to be serious consequences.
This happened. I don't think anyone is under any illusion. This happened. You know, I penned a book post the Nasrec conference, 2 minutes to midnight, in which I clearly indicate that, you know, we don't have to wish this away. There was huge cash stolen just months prior to the conference from the State Security Agency, tens of millions. We know of mayors of certain provinces that were stopped at roadblocks with cash in the boot of the cars. Again, millions of rands. So the fact that there was money moved around and had an influence in the Nasrec conference is not a disputable issue. The issue that SCOPA needs to investigate is where exactly that money came from in terms of state coffers. And that is an important investigation.
Equally important is for us to remind ourselves what SCOPA can do if the president is found wanting. For those who are concerned that, you know, the institution itself may have a bark and no bite, what can they actually do once you consider the kind of legislative mandate that SCOPA has?
Well, I mean, ultimately, if you take it to its worst-case scenario, this will be an impeachable. You know, the president will be held to account, and they would want to impinge him, and that would mean that it goes to the parliamentary floor. In terms of our system of representative system, everyone would have to vote to impeach the president, and we've had one or two of those incidents in the past. Then there'll be a long debate about whether it should be a secret vote or not, and that will play out in the courts, and before you know it, we're already going for the 2024 general election. So I'm not sure whether we want to exhaust resources on this issue, but as I say, it is important to get to the bottom of it.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I guess some people might interpret what you're saying as this just being an academic exercise. I guess there's no point in asking whether or not you even believe the money can be recouped at this stage?
I don't think it can be recouped. I mean, a lot of people that are alleged to have stolen public money for party political ends are the same people that are now facing prosecution and allegations within the state capture report. So at the end of the day, they are going to be held accountable, but through our courts of law. And I think SCOPA needs to internalize that. Is this just a party political game to score some points? Do you really want to take this to its logical conclusion and wrap the president over the knuckles? I think they have to follow it through to its logical conclusion, because a member of parliament gave them a piece of evidence that suggests they have not actually done their work. Right. And I think that's what's motivating.
Right. Finally, for me, I mean, how does SCOPA protect itself from whatever kind of political motive is involved here? Because the integrity of the institution itself, at the very least, should also be protected, no matter what happens.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a multi-party structure. All political parties are represented. They need to do their work without fear or favor. It's got nothing to do about the fact that this allegation is pointed at the chief the President of the Republic. If there is wrongdoing and there is evidence to suggest such, then they need to do their work. That's the only way they are going to be able to protect their integrity.
Once again, SCOPA said to meet on Tuesday, we're told, to carve out some kind of response to the President's answers. For now, thanks very much indeed for your time, Dr. Oscar van der Heerden, who's a political analyst and Deputy Vice-Chancellor at Fort Hare University. Once again, appreciate your insights.